flying down here, I imagine. Like, that's quite steep. And then just flying down this 60-foot drop. Wild animals are insane, man. Let's place bets. Is my tiny little car gonna get stuck in the snow when I come back in 2 hours? Or, even better, is the snow plow gonna go by and leave a 3-foot tall snowdrift for me to shovel out when I get back? Also, this is sacrilegious. This isn't Tim Hortons coffee, but it might be better. I was gonna stop at Tim's, but the roads are so bad that Tim Hortons is closed. So, if you know what that means, I had a pretty scary drive to get here. So if it's not clear by now, it's snowing quite a bit, which is awesome. And, oh, I just scared the crap out of a partridge. Sorry, bud. Okay, I'll be a little quieter, I guess. Yeah, so it's snowing. And if you saw a couple weeks ago when I was out in the last snowstorm we had, I said I wanted to make a conscious effort to get out more when it's actively snowing because I find that pictures are better. There's more interest. Just a little bit of motion in the snow just makes every picture look really wintry and super nice, and I find compositions are a bit easier to find. One thing I didn't take into consideration when I said that is that I tend to leave early in the morning on the weekends to go places to take photographs. And when I left this morning, the highways weren't plowed yet. So a drive that should have taken me just over an hour took 2.5 hours to get here. So I don't normally have huge expectations when I'm out taking pictures, but after a drive like that, I want to come home with an image I'm happy with. So I'm familiar with this region and this trail where I am, this woodland in particular. And I chose it on purpose because it's a beautiful woodland, so there's all kinds of image potentials in here. But after a couple kilometers, you come out along a beautiful wide river with little islands. And I find that when you're shooting in snow, it's nice to be away from whatever your subject is. And then you can get that separation between the subject sort of like in the background or midground and then falling snow in the foreground. And I think those give like the most wintry feeling images. So I came here to try and capture an image down by the river. I got too many layers on this morning, but not the right kinds. My chest and my head is warm, but I didn't bring a scarf or anything, so my neck is cold. I'm all over the place. I know I've mentioned this before, but there's just something so special about being in the woods, like the first person in the woods when there's no footprints or no trails. Like, it's just beautiful and peaceful. And the only noise in here is me yapping on about nonsense and disturbing the wildlife. It's so pretty in here. I just can't get over fresh snow in the woods. Let's just take it in for a minute. Look at this. That may have been the worst footage you've ever seen, but it is just so peaceful and calm and pretty in here. I didn't really see any photographs right in that little clearing, but like everything looks nice. Like even just a tree with snow or pine needles with snow. Look at this, bark with snow and little fungi all along it. Everything just looks pretty. And I'm optimistic I'll find some nice images in here. Well, this wasn't supposed to fall off. What's going on? I just put this ice spike back on. Now this one fell off. Where the hell did that go? Rabbit tracks. I wonder where he was headed. I should go out for a dedicated day or two of wildlife photography the next little while. It's so hard in the winter because everything's cold and sitting for long periods of time gets tough. But I don't really have many nice winter wildlife images, so that could be a fun challenge as well for this winter. Spikes fell off. Taking them both off, and let's hope I don't live to regret this shortly. What the heck? That's a floating tree. From this day forwards, this little stream, the magic stream. There's a floating tree and floating ice. I know exactly what caused both, but I'm just gonna pretend like it's magic. That makes things more fun. Wow. I don't know what my composition will be yet, but this is exactly the kind of scenes I wanted to mess around with this morning. I've got ideas. Ideas are spinning in my head. The first image I want to capture will be something that represents, or that really accurately represents the area I am at this moment, and something that is always changing. And one thing, well, stands out quite a bit in that category for me, and it's the flowing ice down the middle of the river. I'm pretty confident in this idea that I have because I'm willing to get out an ND filter for this, which I don't do very often. I'm actually pretty happy with this. My cheap ND filters are doing the trick for now, and I have it framed up so in the bottom of the image we have this still frozen solid ice in the bottom third of the image. Then you go up a bit and then there's this moving ice as it's flowing downstream to the main body of the river, and it's flowing quite quickly, but none of the other ice around it is moving. And then you go back again, you get some snow-covered shoreline and then some snow-covered trees. And I'm shooting at a 2-second exposure, f/16, ISO 160. It's not an award-winning image, but I think it's quite cool, and it's super unique to this time of year when rivers haven't frozen solid and you have both moving ice and solid ice. So yeah, I like it quite a bit. All right, I've already used one filter for today, so I think that's more than enough. I don't even think I have to move from here to get another composition I'm happy with. I might play around with a few things, but I want to get an image this time where the trees on the other side of the river are the main focus, because there's some nice spruce and pine trees, and then some bare trees as well. So there's just a nice textures and patterns from all the snow-laden branches, and I think that always makes for a nice image. And if I can get some more motion in the river, or just some interesting foreground with some of the ice, could be another great simple little image. All I've done for this one, I've put my camera in portrait orientation. I'm now focusing on the trees in the background across the river. You can still see the flowing water in the midground, and I'm shooting at a 15th of a second f/16 ISO 160. The one possible issue I have with this is I like the 1/15th second exposure. It's not overly windy, so the trees will be sharp. But that's a long enough shutter speed, sorry, that you'll be able to see a little bit of motion in the water. Like, it won't be sharp, which is interesting, but it's going to be that weird length where it just looks like bad motion and it looks like unintentional motion. But I don't think it's that big of a deal because everything else will be tack sharp. And I think the image is good enough by itself, so that hopefully won't be too big of an issue. Well, I've got to be really careful with this, and I hope I had my ice spikes still on my shoes, but I don't. Oh, beautiful. Oh man. Whoa, the river is so clear. Wow. I love how just a tiny little change in position offers so many more unique compositions. I literally just like walked down an embankment and everything looks so different from down here and so pretty. And there's so many new possibilities. The water is just so calm and still here that even without a polarizer, taking some images through there looks incredibly cool. There's no reflections, there's no glare. It almost just looks like, or at least on the back of the camera, it just looks like you're shooting on a little field. One of the first things that caught my attention when I first got to this river was this fallen tree, which has so much character, so many fun shapes and textures. And I didn't think I'd be able to get a nice image of it, but I have framed up something that I think puts just enough of that tree into the frame and still allows for a really nice composition. So what I've done is I've positioned myself sort of directly behind the tree, and the tree's falling into the frame from the right-hand side, and it's covering the sky in the top right-hand of the image. Top left-hand of the image, sort of the trees on the other side of the valley, and then the river's flowing through the middle of the frame. And I think it's actually quite well balanced because there's minimal negative space because the branches are covering what had been empty previously. And yeah, 1/20th of a second, f14, ISO 160. It's just simple, fun, hopefully enjoyable to look at photography. This tripod is carbon fiber, and other than being light, another reason that I decided to get this over a metal one is because I figured very incorrectly that carbon fiber would get like a lot less cold than metal. That is not the case. This shit is still cold, super cold, and just touching anything on it just freezes your hand instantly, like water just freezes on it. Anyway, I don't regret spending that much money on that. I'm gonna carry on down the trail. There's more lookouts into the river. I think we even go through a really nice, pretty old birch stand. So there could be some awesome compositions in there as well. So I'm gonna try and warm up my fingers and hit the trail. Apologies if this video is less well organized and like if it's more choppy than normal. I'm by no means a good filmmaker, but I try and make it cohesive. But winter is tough, like really tough. Every time you open your bag, it's like, am I gonna drop something or forget something in the snow? And that's one concern. Everything's cold. I tend to keep, like when the weather's nice, I tend to keep my other camera on hand, either on my bag or just like carrying it. But in the winter, I can't do that. Everything's too cold. So I just have this camera and I don't stop as much either, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It means something really has to stand out for me to stop, unpack my camera, frame up a composition and take an image. But as much as I like that kind of photography and you're sure that every image you take is a nice one, I also just love taking pictures. So it's nice to just be like, oh, that's nice, click. Oh, that's nice, click. So this slows me down quite a bit. And all that to say, the video may be a bit choppy, and sorry for that. This forest is so pretty, and surely there's compositions here, but to me this morning, it's just everything seems too cluttered and too messy. I was hoping that the snow would kind of put some separation between things, and that didn't quite happen. And because it's still snowing, it's quite overcast, so there's no like light rays shining in here, giving any interest or separation, so it's tough. It is tough. Looked at my watch a second ago. Apparently, it stopped working 44 seconds after I got here. I hope it's just having a little hiccup and it's frozen, because I love this watch. I don't want to have to get a new one. And I don't even think I could afford one if I wanted one. And also, don't look at my heart rate. 44 seconds in. Must have been a mistake. Oh. Totally didn't just almost break the microphone. Oh, what a morning. What a morning. I promise I'm not complaining. I am actually having the time of my life. Oh, man, I could use those shoe spikes right about now. Oh, man. There's a moose in here. It could, well, so these two dots make me think it's a moose. So I'm going to say it's a moose. Could just be a really big deer, but that's crazy, actually. I stepped on the other one, but there is another one right there. And they look somewhat fresh. There could have been a moose in here this morning. It's a shame I didn't bump into him from a safe distance. But look at this. He just came flying down here, I imagine. Like, that's quite steep. And then just flying down this 60-foot drop. Wild animals are insane, man. They're crazy. If you haven't seen the video, look up I don't know what it's called, but it's a moose running through like 6 feet deep snow, like faster than a car. It's crazy. Do yourself a favor, look that up. They're just absolute machines. My goodness. That hill at the end is an absolute killer. Doesn't look that bad. Whew. Dang, she looks good in the snow. But look at this. It's fairly deep, but no snowplows have come by, so I'm confident we can get out. I hope you enjoyed the video. I didn't see any more compositions that stood out to me on the way back to the car. Everything just seemed too cluttered and messy for me this morning. I hope you enjoyed some of the images I took down by the river. Hope I see you on the next video, and until next time.